when people are on the scene that need the information, then the information opens up like a flower. And I think that the way this book's put together, it has held the world in suspense as to what the end is really going to be and when it's going to be and what's going to happen exactly and in what order and how. That's all been kind of hidden by the way it's put together. And yet for us, it's put together in such order that when the people at the end would come on the scene, they would see it, you know. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing that heaven has put together for us. Now let me think of something else.
Steve, could the word Kate's also be remnant, or would that not apply at all?
No, it just means the border edge of anything. The end means, you know, as a bowl of cloth goes by your face, that's the end of the bowl of a cloth. You know, they call it the remnant. Yeah, remnant is another word for the end of a bowl of cloth, isn't it? But in the Hebrew, the end of something, the utter end of something is called the border edge, or the word is kates. You might look for that.
Would that be the end of the remnant?
Well, the end of an end. That's what she's trying to say. I don't know about having the end of an end.
Seems like a remnant.
Well, anyway. Okay. All right. Let's go back to Daniel 11 a minute, and I'll show you something interesting. Now let's go to verse 10. Here Daniel has seen the terrible beast, the leopard and the bear and the lion, and which were Babylon is the lion, bear, Medo Persia, and the leopard was of course the Greek Empire of Alexander the Great, and then he sees. He considered the horns that were on a fourth empire that was terrible and dreadful, and broke things up, and it had great iron teeth and the like. And he considered horns that came up there, and then he saw this little horn that plucked up the three. We know that's the papal power plucked up the Hurlei, the Ostrogoths, and the Visigoths, I think it was, and took their place. And that held his attention. And let's start with verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
Wait a minute, what chapter are you in?
7. 7, 9. I'm sorry, I didn't give you the... I thought I said Daniel 7, didn't I?
11.
Oh, I said 11.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with 9. Oh, okay. I thought I'd told us to go to 7, but let's go to Daniel 7. He's shown all these beasts which represent empires that would come, and by the way, these are the only empires that are named are empires that would vex his people, the people of God. Only those empires are the ones that are mentioned here. There were great empires, you know, in China and other places, but they're not mentioned because they didn't bother God's people, did they? There was one in the New World called the Maya Empire, and the Incas. They were great too, but they're not even mentioned directly anyway, because they didn't bother His people either. Okay. Verse 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. That means were put in place. Chairs were put in place, so to speak. And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. 10, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him, and it tells the number that were there, and it says there at the end of at verse 10 the judgment was set, and the books were opened. Now let's go to Revelation 4. Now, Revelation is explaining the book of Daniel. That's what it's for. John was giving the prophetic outlines, and Daniel had the prophetic timelines. That's pretty much how it works. So we'll go to chapter 4. And at chapter 4, what we see here, we see the judgment opening here. Chapter 4 starts. He says, "After this I looked," and this is the second heavenly scene. After this I looked. He's getting another scene now in the prophecy of the first line of prophecy. He's getting the second scene, the second prophetic outline. "After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet, saying, Come up hither. And he was in the Spirit, and a throne was set in heaven." Remember in Daniel 7:9 we saw thrones were set. "And he that sat was to look upon like jasper, and the like." Then he sees the 24 elders, which Daniel doesn't see. Daniel 7 is concentrated, and it's expanded in Revelation then. And he sees a throne and lightning coming out in verse 5. There's 7 lamps of fire, and before the throne was a sea of glass like crystal. And it goes on down there and tells the glory of the throne. And then we see in verse 5, "And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within, and on the backside sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book?" Now in Daniel 7 it says the books were open and the what started? The judgment started. Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven nor on earth was able to look into the book or open it up.
What verse again?
5:3.
You're in 5:3, okay.
Yeah. 5:3 is where he sees the book with the 7 seals on it. And he says, "I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book." And that prevailed means hath overcome. That's in the Strong's Concordance, that's 35:28. Hath overcome. In other words, he's the overcomer, the perfect overcomer. He can open the book. "And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, he saw a lamb there, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And he came," and let's drop on down. I'm thinking I'm running out of time here. Let's verse 11. Let's go to verse 11. "And I beheld," this is chapter 5:11. "I beheld, and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the number of the elders. And the number of them was how many?
10,000.
10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands." Where did we read that before?
Daniel.
Let's go back to Daniel 7. Verse 10. "A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him." We read in Revelation about the fire and the glory around that throne. Yeah. Thousands minister unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. So chapter 4 and 5 are a giant blow up of 3 verses of Daniel. Can you see that? Yeah. So Revelation is expanding on what Daniel saw. And John was the one who was going to be able to understand what all went on. Well, let's read what happened to poor Daniel, though. Let's go back to Daniel 12. Verse 13. Well, let's start with 9. And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end, and that's Kates. The Kates. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily shall be taken away, the sacrifice is added word, and the abomination that maketh deathless sit up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is him that waiteth and cometh to the 1,335 days. Now what's he told? But go thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. And what that means is, when he stands in his lot at the end of the days, it means what you're seeing will become evident then.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell you. Isn't that sad? Go ahead.
Some people have said that also means that he died, but he will be raised up, so he will actually see what's
Well,
happening.
he may.
You know, when he'll actually see the second
It'll be evident though in these times just here from here on. And so we're living in a momentous time, aren't we?
Yeah.
We sure
are. One thing I might add, we've all read about this this beast in Revelation 13 that has the 7 heads and the 10 horns, and it's like a leopard. Each one of these heads are pictured as being on that composite beast, but we have to remember none of those heads all those heads were on the beast at the same time. They all took their place on the beast during their time. We have the different empires that would affect God's people and its work taking their place on that beast. Now the devil is not permitted to come and to rule directly over God's people like he'd like to. He has to rule through some earthly entity.
right.
He has to rule through Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, and he has to rule through the Medo-Persian Empire to get at God's the people of God. And then during the empire of Alexander the Great, that would be the leopard. He has to rule through the Greeks to get at God's people. Then he had to rule through Rome to get at God's people. And so this composite beast is the way the devil influenced earthly powers to get at God's people. That's the way he has. We have kind of a pad between us and him, and we know at the very end though that the devil does come out of when the locusts come out as a smoke out of a furnace. Then the judgment is over. This is one of the well, this is a trumpet actually, but it's talking about what causes the terrible chaos in the plagues. The devil is permitted to become visible and his devils. And to vex the wicked directly. And so, what time is it here?
It's on 10 minutes after.
Okay, I might show you one other thing here. If I can find it right away. Having to do with that, what I just. Revelation 8.